Today, in a special live recording here at the Real Estate Crowdfunding Show syndication in the digital age at gowercrowd.com, you are going to learn everything you could possibly want to know about how to actually broadcast live on social media, specifically LinkedIn, with my guest Noel Christopher, who earns his weekly envelope as Senior Vice President at Renters Warehouse and who promotes his business through regular live broadcasts on LinkedIn and other channels. Hi, Adam Gower here, and I must confess to having been terrified to do anything live on social until I met Noel. I did a live seminar a few weeks back with IMS and just found myself, for whatever reason, to be extremely self-conscious and uncomfortable in the live environment. I mean, I'm really excellent, even if I say so myself, in front of a live audience that I can see and react to. And I'm totally fine recording these podcasts. But something about the idea of not being able to edit something that goes out online, to me, was really unnerving. And then Noel Christopher contacted me on LinkedIn, and I delayed and stalled and eventually agreed to be on his live show, which we did a few weeks back, and it was an absolute blast. So much so, in fact, that I was intrigued by everything Noel was doing and invited him on the show today to talk about his pathway to going live on the internet and what's involved so that you can hear about it too. You can find a bunch of links to Noel and his company and his LinkedIn profile, of course, on the podcast page to today's episode at gowercrowd.com, where you'll also be able to access the whiteboard workshop that I've put together for you that walks you through the exact system you can build to find investors, educate them about your value proposition, and raise money for your real estate deals. That's all on the podcast page at gowercrowd.com. All right, pleased to introduce you now, recorded live, my special guest, Noel Christopher, who is Senior Vice President at Renters Warehouse, where he leads change in the single-family rental investment industry, to hear just how he goes about marketing his business, doing live broadcasts on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Noel, it's good to see you again.
I'm here.
You
in
are.
The flesh, digitally.
Indeed you are, and it's fabulous to see you. And we had an amazing call last week. You were very gracious to invite me on your show. And the substantial difference between your show and mine, which is exactly what I wanted to talk to you about today, was that mine is recorded so I can bleep out all the bloopers or whatever.
Yeah.
And yours was live.
Yes.
So tell me something about your pathway, if you would, please, to digital marketing using live broadcasting. Let's get into that because it's fascinating to me.
Sure. So I started out, about a year ago, our company, we started just really focusing a little bit more on the brand marketing, and we started doing some things with Gary Vaynerchuk. If you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, he's got a digital marketing company called, one's called the Vayner Group, and the Vayner Media, the other one's called the Sasha Group, which is a little bit more small business, which is still not cheap. But and we really started seeing how the benefit of, and I started personally seeing the benefit of just turning on the camera and recording your thoughts. So that was around the same time, I started that about a year ago, about this exact time, dropping my kids off from school. I read a lot. I read a lot about what's going on in the real estate market. I'm trying to become a master of my craft, and I would just give my thoughts on commentary on, give my commentary on what I would read in news articles about the real estate market. And if you think about this time last year, a lot of people are talking about we're going into a housing crash. Interest rates jumped up a little bit. There was, days on market started to creep up a little bit. And so everybody started beating this drum of a housing recession. And so I started posting daily videos talking about how I don't believe that there's a housing recession, and that I believe, or a housing crash, and that I believe that lack of supply, lack of inventory, and just the way the market is, there's not going to be one. So I started calling out journalists and publicly calling them out and driving home from school or driving home from dropping my kids off at school. And this is about the same time LinkedIn started announcing they were going to do a beta for LinkedIn Live.
Okay, hang on. So I'm going to pause you there because I really want to hear the whole story. But if I don't stop you, I'm going to forget some of these important points.
That's fine.
Even if I take down notes. So at that point where what you said was I turn on the camera and I share thoughts. So tell me, what actually is that? You've got this massive microphone in front of you.
Oh, well,
obviously.
So for one, it wasn't this camera. It was in my car. And this is a little bit, I still to this day, sometimes get people comment on, you're recording yourself while you're driving. It's dangerous. I'm like, well, I'm talking. So I'm not, So anyways, I started turning on in my car. So I would drive, my drive home is about 15 minutes and I would turn on the camera and give my thoughts, one take.
Did you do it? Did you record it? Or did
I recorded it.
You recorded it.
Okay, so I started out just recording my thoughts, and I still do this. So when you're thinking about posting content, short form content should be just short form. It doesn't need to be a shaky camera and you're walking down the street, but it could just be short form. Your thoughts, 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes max. And so that got, I had a call from CNBC for one of the real estate shows. They wanted me to maybe do a real estate show with them. I got LinkedIn contacted me and said, hey, your videos are getting lots of traction.
So how are you posting them? No. So now you get home,
right?
You've got this 4-minute vid that you've been recorded on the way home.
So what I would do is I called it soft production. So I would add an intro and an outro. I would add captions, and then I would also maybe add a chart or a graph, because I would talk about some data points, and I'm doing it off the top of my head, and I would add a chart or graph and say, look, here's the chart I was talking about. And I would put it in there, or even a funny, I started doing these don't believe the hype things, and I would pull up a black screen that says don't believe the hype. And so that started getting a lot of traction, and I started having a lot of engagement with people off of this, saying that I had a great way of explaining it in layman's terms and explaining housing data and housing news in layman's terms. And look, I just did a show today that was about that, about how data can be misinterpreted all the time. So go ahead.
All right. So hang on. So I want to really connect the dots, the practical dots. So you've got a raw piece of video. You record an intro and an outro. You put some special effects on it. I don't use Camtasia or something.
Yeah, use Camtasia. It's very simple.
Right.
Captions.
To build the thing.
Yep.
Then what did you do? Then you burned it to your website. To your computer. And uploaded it?
I upload it, yes. So I would upload it.
So then how do you distribute? Yeah.
Yeah, I would upload it as a native video to LinkedIn, which is very, very important. Linking to can we pause for 1 second?
Sure.
My dog's whining at the door, so I'll start over.
No problem.
Okay, sorry, the dog was getting in my head.
It's totally fine.
So, okay, right. So I would upload a video to LinkedIn, a native video, and it's really important to upload native videos to LinkedIn, the way that the algorithms pull that video. If you're linking anything to outside of the platform, it gets less traction. And to understand LinkedIn, it's very important to be consistent. The reason you want to be consistent is because the faster that people engage with your content, the quicker it moves up into the levels. LinkedIn has about 5 different levels, and you can Google this on anywhere and you'll find out on LinkedIn where it gets to a level where people at LinkedIn are actually making a decision on where to put your video and how long to keep it in news feeds. And that's why when you see something from Bill Gates and it's from a month ago and it's got hundreds of thousands of views and comments and all that, it's because LinkedIn is pushing that out there. That's actually a decision that somebody makes outside of just an AI algorithm. And it trips that trigger depending on how fast people like and comment on your video, and then or your content, period. And so it was important, and I learned this, it was important to post a video and then summarize and have some engaging content in the text of the video.
Okay. So
in the text of the post.
Okay. So so there's a few things going on. There's the text. So you upload the video, and together with the video, you've got post content with some engaging written text.
Yes.
Okay.
And I use captions. The difference between using captions and not using captions is about 50% engagement of what I see. Likes,
Okay.
people commenting, because not everybody can turn on the video. They can watch it.
Right.
And that's why short form video, 2 or 3 minutes is important.
So subtitles is what you
yes,
mean.
subtitles. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's important. And I do that in Camtasia, and I burn them in, so I don't have to upload them in. I burn them in, and then I can use that video anywhere I want. And I would also put this video on YouTube and Facebook sometimes, but just to get some extra reach. But really my focus is LinkedIn, because that's where I'm engaging in business to business.
Okay.
And so I consistently do that with a mix of text only posts and video posts. And some weeks I'll do 2 or 3 video posts. Some weeks I'll do 1. It just depends on how busy I am. And I try not to let it bog me down too much. That's why I keep the videos short, and I do minimal production. So you don't want them to be overproduced or underproduced. The shaky video and all that. Now, so that's really important. So I continue to do that today. And it's, for example, this weekend, I recorded 3 videos on my drive to I had to go drive and pick up something for my daughter an hour away for her to go to ski camp. So on that drive, I'm thinking a lot. And so I started posting some different videos, and then I had my whole week's worth of content. And so I started doing that consistently back about a year ago. And so I started getting great traction. And LinkedIn has been exploding with this, and video is a big thing that they focus on. And so I ended up getting invited to join LinkedIn's live influencer beta program. That's the show we did last week, or, that's the platform we used last week. And, I think that it gets interesting. It's hard because you don't see when you're doing the show and you have 15 people watching it, you can't get discouraged, because this is content that's going to live on LinkedIn. I also post this content onto YouTube as well. And it's content that's living and breathing constantly. I have people going back and watching videos I did a year ago and commenting on them today, because when somebody finally engages with you, they're going to go look back and look at your content, and that content will live. And I mean, it's a living, breathing thing constantly. And there's content I've done that is not relevant to today, because my content is all time relevant and what's going on, current affairs relevant. But I get people engaging with it all the time, and it's great.
So tell me about the interactions. Now I'm interested. So you get this thing up on, so you create a nice video.
Right.
That's great to hear that, using the same tool that I do as well.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. And you put it up, you put in some content and some post content, written content.
Yep.
2 questions. One, is there any way at all that you stimulate comments? In other words, when I spoke to Yona Weiss a couple weeks ago, he said the best thing is to put a CTA actually in the first comment. So comment on your own video.
Yes.
Do you use CTAs, and then do you use something that triggers comments by commenting on your own vids or anything?
Yeah, I ask questions. If I'm linking to a external post, I only put that link in the comments, because it just gets better traction with LinkedIn. Because again, anything you're asking people to go outside of the platform is going to get pushed down. I try to make sure that if somebody comments on my post, I immediately engage with them, and I catch them. They comment. I am, it drives my wife crazy sometimes, because she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Look, I've got to engage with people. This is my job is to engage, or my goal is to engage with as many people as possible, because maybe like yourself, or maybe not, my target audience, my target customer, if you want to even say that, is anybody who's a professional that might be an investor, a real estate investor. So I need to engage.
How do you keep track then? Obviously you're not sitting like watching your LinkedIn. Do you automate email notices? Like, how do you
I do not automate anything. I
meant in terms of if somebody leaves a comment, do you get an email notification?
Yeah, I just get I keep up on my LinkedIn, and I get notifications, and I can quickly look at it and see if somebody's commented. Look, if it's during dinner time or family time, it's a little bit different, but I try to engage with people during the day, during work hours. But then again, some of my best engagement has been on a Saturday night or a Sunday night, because there's less people on LinkedIn. You tend to find more C-level, C-suite level people engaging on LinkedIn at night on the weekends.
It's funny. It's true, actually.
It's
I
very
go
true.
through it. By the end of the day, I've gone through all my emails. There's nothing I'm going to do until tomorrow. I'm sick of the bloody news. Right? That's what's going on social, right? The business social.
Well, and so I've found that I've engaged with some pretty high level people up at LinkedIn that comment on some kind of a post and maybe debunk a misnomer that people think that you need to post 10 times a day on LinkedIn to get traction. And then some say, and I did, lo and behold, I found out I talked to somebody pretty high up on LinkedIn, and I actually, the long story short is they said that you don't need to post multiple times a day, but you need to, it depends on what you're doing. Now it's okay to repost your posts. So instead of posting a whole bunch of new posts, you can repost your posts. Now there are some people who have such great engagement that they can post a couple times a day and they will get tons of engagement.
Right.
I'm very niche in what I'm doing, but it's asking a question, it's pointing out something, it's engaging with people, and even getting into some more personal. So in the wintertime, you're going to see me post some things about ski racing. I ski race as a hobby. You're going to see some more things about that, how it relates to my business life. And those are okay as long as you're not trying to get too personal.
Right. So, all right. So now let's talk about live a little bit and this whole environment, because in fact, talking to you was the most comfortable live broadcast I've done. I've done others. In fact, it was better because we could talk to each other. Other live ones I've done have been webinars, and I don't like them at all.
No.
Tell me about that experience. And then you also hooked us up. Tell me a bit about the tech and how all that came about, and because you told me that we were live on Facebook and other channels. So tell me more about that.
So one other thing first, before that, one kind of pro tip that I've learned on LinkedIn: if you are posting interesting content or commenting on interesting comment, hashtag yourself. If you go to LinkedIn right now and you want to find, and you go to my profile and then you go under activity and look at posts, it's going to be this mishmash of things. Everything I do that's relevant. If I'm having an interesting conversation with somebody, I'll hashtag myself, or you can even post that comment as a post, but I'll hashtag myself. So when somebody hashtags Noel Christopher, they can see all of the interactions that I've had that isn't just a random like and a random comment saying, hey, great post. It's something when I'm engaging, I always hashtag myself. So that's a pro tip there. And it works really, really well because LinkedIn hasn't figured out how to put people's content in a nice box for other people to consume. It's very just one at a time.
Okay. So let me understand the distinction there. So if I go to your posts, you've got posts and articles. If I look at everything, I'll see everything in one place. This is different, right?
So this is different because I don't hashtag every single comment that I make or even post sometimes. I try to hashtag the relevant. And the way LinkedIn does it, when you go to log on to somebody's page, it's kind of hard to digest that. But if you hashtag Noel Christopher, everything shows up.
Got it.
And so then I also hashtag real estate, I hashtag a couple other different things, but I really focus on my own. Okay. And it makes it where you can easily see what I'm doing in real time and what I'm interacting with. And it's
and so this also is the stuff that's important, that is kind of standard.
Yeah.
You want to see what's really important that I look at, run the hashtag.
And every once in a while, I'll pull a post and say, want to see what I've been up to the last week? Click on this, and I'll just do hashtag Noel Christopher. It's a clickable link on LinkedIn, and you click on it, and everything comes up.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's a good way. The hashtags are underused right now still, but it's a very good way to get traction with things. And so some people say you should only do 4 or 5 hashtags. Sometimes I do 10. I don't know. I don't know the science behind it yet. So anyway, with LinkedIn Live, so it's interesting because it's Microsoft. Microsoft owns LinkedIn. They're a little bit behind as far as the quality of like Facebook live streaming and the quality of what we're doing here, because right now this is a one-on-one conversation. You're recording it locally or even in the cloud, and then it's going to be a little bit higher quality. The LinkedIn Live, they have several partners that they work with. So you have to, nowadays you can apply to be in LinkedIn Live, fill out an application. They will either let you in or not let you in. I think they're letting more and more people in as it goes by. And then you have to use a third-party company that is a streaming company. So there's several. I use Social Live, and it allows me to live stream out to several different platforms. You can do Twitter Periscope, you can do YouTube, you can do Twitch, you can do LinkedIn, Facebook, several others, RMTP, I think, which is like you can post it live on your website if you wanted. There's a lot of different things you can do. I keep it pretty simple. I do LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And so I haven't really, I'm a little behind. I haven't really focused on my YouTube channel, but I'm putting a lot of content on there. So at some point I'm going to go and have somebody organize that for me because it's all there. All my content is there. And I make sure my short form videos, every week or so, I go in and make sure I upload all my short form videos to YouTube because it's an easy place to go. And it's by no means built out for myself, but it's a good place. So what happens is LinkedIn Live is that you're recording to one server, and then that's the company. So Social Live in my case, and then that company's putting it out to the different platforms. So you're not having to stream the bandwidth to all these different platforms. They do it for you. If you go watch some of my first videos, there were all kinds of things that were happening. Sometimes all of a sudden my guests would cut out from their sound and I could hear them, but the recording couldn't hear them. So I have one LinkedIn Live where it's me talking to you and going, yeah, I agree, and commenting on what you're saying, but nobody can hear you. Had some where I clicked the wrong button and it cut me out for a few minutes, or I put up a graphics and it cut me out. I mean, there are all kinds of things that happen.
Well, you and I got killed halfway through the blooming thing.
So we got killed halfway through because Chrome crashed. My Chrome browser crashed.
Okay.
Like it's
I just thought that we were just about to start headbanging about the market.
We were.
And I had a feeling that you decided, nah, I'm not going to talk to him about that.
It was just getting interesting. So yeah, there's all kinds of technical difficulties, but being able to put your immediate thoughts out live and having no filter and nobody to stop you is liberating, and it's great, and it's interesting because we could do a show where we have 4 guests on and we could have a true debate if we wanted.
Wow,
we can have
you could do that on LinkedIn. You could have multiple guests.
Yes, I think I can have up to 4 or 5, including myself, 4 or 5 people. So I think 5. I think I can have 4 guests, and so you can even produce it, have somebody producing for you, graphics, and you can bring in you can add other video into it. There's a lot to it. I keep it pretty simple, but I sometimes will add in graphics, or I can add in a video, or you can have you can really produce it. You can keep it simple. I'm kind of growing how I'm growing myself, growing with that. But it's
and what kind of support, Noel, do they give you in terms of tech? Do they help you with suggestions and best practices, or
they do? They do a little bit. I've had a couple of calls with LinkedIn, and they've given me some ideas, and some of that is you want them to be longer than shorter, at least 20 or 30 minutes or longer, because you need people to engage, and people are going to engage at different times, and less about what they call metadata. So less about how to be successful on LinkedIn and more about what you're doing in your daily business. So a lot of people are I mean, look, you've been on LinkedIn. It's right. I would probably say 70% of what I see on LinkedIn is people telling you how to be more successful on LinkedIn. And so that gets a little old.
It's funny because I was just thinking that now. That's entirely this conversation, actually.
Which is okay. Which is okay because it's interesting.
It is. It's a new,
right.
Yeah, and it's a new avenue as well, right? The lifestyle. I mean, it's totally brand new. So so you talked about numbers. You mentioned that when you and I were talking, there were 50 people on at some point. So, and we spoke for an hour.
Right.
You did shock me a little bit afterwards when you said, I said, gosh, that looks like maybe they cut us off after an hour. He said, no, we could have gone for 24 hours.
Right.
I was a bit worried that you might have had that in mind.
No. So I've seen some people that just turn the camera on a conference and just record the whole conference.
And
it's
then,
not very engaging.
Right. Or
I've
forget to turn it off, even worse, right? Oh, yeah.
I've seen some people that, get several LinkedIn live streamers in a room and, they all live stream. I mean, sure, I guess, whatever. I'm trying to just stay. I believe it's important to talk about what you know, and what you don't know, leave that to the people who know.
So tell me how you see the numbers. So you mentioned again.
So you see how many people are currently watching. That means that it's on their screen in front of them. They're actively engaging in the content.
Okay.
And then people can comment, those types of things. Some
then
people
can you see that? Can you see that? What I meant was during the course of, say, at the hour that we did, it typically, do you see a spike at the beginning, after 15 minutes, after 30 minutes, or growth steady?
Yeah. Well, again, it depends on, or not again, but it really depends on how I'm promoting that content. So, LinkedIn doesn't yet, and I'm hearing that they might soon allow you to schedule. So if I could schedule and then promote that schedule, and people could sign up, and then it gets them to engage a little bit more. Right now, it is I put a post out and say, hey, this is what my live show is. This is who my guest is. This is why this guest is interesting. Go here to see some content from this guest. This is why you should watch this, right? So you need to have a hook to get them in. And then when you start the live show, all my first and some of my second connections, they say it's all, but I don't know how much it really is, get a notice. They go, Noel's live. Well, they have to be on LinkedIn at that time looking at that. And so there's no way to put something in their calendar.
I see.
You know what I mean? So it'd be great because there's a lot of people who say, but what's great about LinkedIn Live is then it's there, and then I can promote that live show again. I can say, hey, if you miss this, we had some really good content. Or I can take a snippet of that content out, post a live show, post a snippet of it, however you want to do. You can do all the things you do with social media to, you take long form, turn it into short form, and it just takes time or money. You have to hire somebody to do it, but it's worthwhile because, in our hour conversation, we had some great snippets of things, some interesting things. So we should be promoting that a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll download that. I haven't done yet. I'll definitely do that and get those out. And I'll go ahead and upload them natively to see how much difference. Because most of what I do at the moment is YouTube, just for convenience.
So put it on YouTube, but when you load it on LinkedIn, natively load it there, and you'll get, in theory, you should get a lot more traction.
Yeah. So let's see. It'll be interesting. I'll get those rolling soon. So what kind of results? Tell me. This it's a lot of work. You put in. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing it with Noel, and you do it all the time. You're very regular.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are you seeing? How is it impacting your business? Which at the end of the day is
there's two parts. Depends what you're doing. There's business development, and there's brand building your personal brand. It's depends. I mean, I'm always building my personal brand. The more I'm out there, the more I'm talking intelligently and engaging, the more it builds my personal brand. And with that comes the business development. I'm not out there going, hey, contact me and I'll help you sell your portfolio. I am saying, hey, this is my challenge. This is what I'm trying to do today. I've talked a lot about due diligence issues in the last week, and I've gotten business from that because people have said, oh, that makes sense what you said about due diligence. I want to introduce you to somebody, or I'm interested in working with you. So LinkedIn is no longer an online resume or job board anymore. It is engaging with people. And so you have to do, in addition to, I think what's driven more engagement and building more brand and got more business is me going engaging with people, and then they go back and watch my videos. It's less of somebody who sees my video right when I post it. It's more of, I comment on you. I mean, this is how we started talking. I saw something that you engaged in. You had an insightful I don't even remember what it was. You had an insightful comment on somebody else's post. That caused me to go look at what you do. I started commenting on your post because I saw some other insightful things that caused you to look back at me. And then we started talking to each other. And if we were a customer client situation, we would probably be doing business together.
Right. Well, I'm going to make an intro for you. So
Exactly. You're going to make an intro for me, and it could lead to all kinds of things or not. You know, it all depends.
Yeah.
And so, I hope that this isn't totally new to people, but by just making an intro to me, it could go absolutely nowhere. You've now put yourself in a level where I want to help you. And this is the way the world works. It's less building this brand and having somebody come and buying from you. It's engaging with somebody, commenting on their content is almost the same as referring them to somebody.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's when you start to give value, it's a psychological reaction that
it's giving value.
Everybody has. Yeah, is that you derive a lot of benefit from somebody, and they're putting out all this interesting, valuable content. You have a desire actually to reciprocate in some way. So if they ask you, buy my stuff, right? Or it's more subtle if it's more a kind of a business B2B type of relationship. You're definitely more inclined to respond.
It's it's the same thing with I talk about networking. So we have these conferences we go to, and we have some salespeople that'll come and they'll come to me and say, I hear you're the master at this. How are we I'm going to talk to every person in the room. And I'm like, I'm not going to talk to every person in the room. I'm going to find a couple of interesting people, have engaging, meaningful conversations with them. And then all of a sudden they're introducing me to people. I don't have to go meet all these people. They're introducing me. And it's the same thing. We could talk and not have any kind of an engaging or meaningful conversation. And you're not going to be really interested in being an advocate for me. But once you have something engaging happening and that creating that value by stimulating their intellect just a little bit, saying something meaningful, engaging, and not being salesy, then you can start having all of these advocates for you that are bringing you business. And that's how you build referral business. It's not, can you think of a list of 5 people that do this type of thing? It is, I've gotten business from people who I've run into in person who said, I talked to somebody who watched one of your videos and they said you had some interesting thoughts on this. I'm curious of what you think about this. And that's, you build that brand and build that engagement, but it has to be consistent. Yeah, it goes away very quickly.
Yeah, it's super cool doing it in social media. When you talk about conferences, it's interesting that you described the way that you used to approach conferences, or do today, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The way that I always came to understand how to deal with conferences was that I would go to a conference, and my objective in the good old days was to get as many business cards as I possibly could. It was strictly, I'd have a 2-minute conversation with someone. What do you do? Tell me what your role is. Exchange cards. I'd scribble a note on the back, and then all my follow-up. And then I would go back. I never went into any of the speeches or anything. Right.
I keep this to remind me. This is from probably 4 or 5 years ago.
That's funny. It's funny it's that because I've got, what I've got here? I don't know, you're definitely not old enough. So I'm going to share with you a flashback that shows how old I am. But when I was growing up, used to get little cards. I want to say that they were from cigarette packets or something. Mm-hmm. You get these little cards. They might have been not in England. In England, they weren't baseball players, but they were these little. And some people would put them. They get them mounted, right, in these things. So I've been waiting. I've got it now. I'm going to show you here. So this is what I've got. I've got a collection of all the business cards. This is just some of. Look at this one. Look at this. This is me actually. Look at that one. It's all in Japanese. Yeah, but that was before I got my PhD. I had all these cards put together. I'm going to get one of those frames and I'll put it, because this is done with. Yeah. This is no longer, but the same idea comes forward from the way we used to do it. Give me a card, give me a headline. I'll give you a headline. This is what I do. It's a soundbite.
Yep.
And then you would follow up. I don't know. In the day, it would be, I suppose, by email or mail or however I did it 100 years ago. But you would follow up now with something of value, some kind of follow-up. It's the same Nothing's really changed. It's just the way we do it, right?
Exactly. And you know, I leverage LinkedIn a lot. I will meet somebody, find them on LinkedIn, connect with them, and if I feel comfortable with this, depending on the conversation, I'll say, "Hey, just met Adam at the IMN conference. We had a great conversation about this. And what do you think about this?" And do a little bit of engagement. And you're like, "Wow, thank you. You just helped me engage with other people." And
Yeah, that's true.
It is faster, it's quicker. Now, LinkedIn, where it is a huge deficit on LinkedIn, is their messaging system. I do a ton of communication on LinkedIn, and it's not great.
Yeah.
How you can organize,
Yeah.
it's very clunky. And I hear that they're going to be fixing that to make that better, because I've moved away from a lot of email. I mean, email is a necessary evil, and there's situations where it's useful, but for the quick communication, text or a quick message on LinkedIn, and you're just, you know, you can keep things moving quickly.
Funny, because on LinkedIn, I always like, if somebody starts messaging me and it sounds like they're worth spending time with, like you, I think I always say, hey, can we move to email?
Right.
I don't want to deal with this messaging system.
So it's a little clunky. And I think, you know, another LinkedIn thing is I get, because of what I do with my company, I'm pretty out there. So anybody who wants to get in with my company, they go through what they think might be the easiest path, least path of resistance. And that's me, which I'm actually not the least path of resistance, just so you know. But I'll talk with anybody, you know, I'll have a conversation with them. And the days of, you know, there's all kinds of automated solutions on LinkedIn where you can connect and send an automated email, send an automated email. And that is, if you want to turn somebody off, the fastest is to do that. I will connect with anybody because, like I say, my clients is the world, really, basically. And so, but if you connect with me and don't engage with me, don't talk with me, don't create some kind of value, and then send me a sales pitch, it's done. I mean, I don't even pay attention to what you said. I read the first paragraph and I'm like, what is this? Now, another pro tip on LinkedIn is that LinkedIn allows you to send videos and messages.
Really? I didn't know that. Is that right?
So you can go in your LinkedIn. I know on the...
do you record it in the message? No, like with my camera now. Can I click record and record directly to...
No, you can upload a video.
Okay.
But on the LinkedIn mobile, which I'm a lot like you, I believe. I'm in front of my computer, probably more than my phone, you know. Right. But you can go back and send somebody a message and go right here. And
you can actually go straight
camera,
through.
Video, photos, GIF, location, availability.
Wow.
You can even put your availability in there. You can put your location in there.
That's kind of interesting.
These are things that LinkedIn's roll out that people don't realize. And it's just, you click the plus sign.
I can't even see where messages are. That's that bad.
It's in the top right corner.
There's a video button. Okay. Yep. Good grief.
So if you are doing prospecting, cold prospecting, a warm video might not be so bad.
It's really interesting, huh?
Okay.
No, let's pause. I know, like last time, we could have gone on for 24 hours. Sure. I don't want to do that this time. I also don't want an accidental connection meltdown, because I've got 3 final questions. Sure. Sign off, quick questions to ask you. But before I do that, there is a question I have about LinkedIn that has been gnawing at me since we started talking. I'm interested to know, especially with the live, the LinkedIn Live, and the impact that you've had doing that show. First of all, how many connections do you have, and how relevant do you think that is to the impact that you have?
So when LinkedIn started, I was very much more picky about my connections. And I see this on people posts all the time, and they may brag about their connections and they hit their limit and click follow. And some people are saying, how can you be connected with that many people? Now it is a social media network. It is about reach. I have about 13,000 connections. 95% of them are in the real estate world in one form or another. Mm-hmm. A lot heavily weighed in Chicago because I was there for 20 years. So I have a big reach in Chicago. When I look at my posts, Chicago gets highest. Now it's starting to even out because I'm location neutral. But so I have about 13,000 posts. I have started, and this is another pro tip. When you get to too many, I think it's 30,000 is your limit. It kind of really messes you up because you may want to add some very relevant people, and you've added a bunch of irrelevant people. Sorry, but maybe some people that are not as relevant. And, but they have a feature on LinkedIn where you can go in your settings right now on my LinkedIn, instead of on my page saying connect with me, it says follow.
Right.
And so what I do, and you can position the follow much more prominently. I don't know if I can.
Yeah, I actually just had to switch to follow one of my clients. We've been doing for the last year, we've been doing a lot of social media, a lot of LinkedIn work, and he was getting too many invitations, and he said,
Exactly.
I can't do with it anymore.
So what can happen then is that you get a notification when somebody follows you, and then you can look at it and decide if it's somebody you want to connect with and have a connection.
I see.
And you can have as many followers as you want. So I've switched that over, and I'm seeing followers, and I'm actually getting more people follow me than would try to connect with me.
That's interesting.
Because it's simple. You press a button and you're followed. When you do a connection, you have that, should you do an introduction? Should you just connect with them? Is there value? What are you doing? Why are you connecting? All of those things. So following people pings them. They can look at you and go, oh, it's kind of like, it's giving a little hello. You're following them. They can go look at your content. They can decide to connect with you if they like or not. So now I've got about 20,000 followers and 13,000 connections. And I turned on following when I had 10,000 connections. And that's the ratio that I've seen.
That's interesting. And how much time, Noel?
1 year.
Interesting. And so when you go live, that entire audience is get some kind
yes.
of...
So when I say, when I post it on LinkedIn, I say, if you want to be notified when I go live or notified of my content, click follow. Or go to my hashtag or whatever, so they click follow, so they'll get notified. And then if I'm putting irrelevant things into their feed, they can unfollow me.
What a fun world we live in, don't we?
It's very interesting.
Here you are in a studio apartment in downtown Manhattan. And here am I on the beach in Maui.
Right.
And
I wish I could take my camera and show you. I'm on the top of a valley looking down a mountain. So
that's what he says. Don't listen to him. He's lying. He's in Manhattan.
Yeah. This is my whole house behind me.
It's a whole thing right there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is me.
Is it really?
Yeah.
The guy with the hair?
Yes. That's when I was 13 years old.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, the one with the great big fuzzy mop.
Oh no, that is Jimi Hendrix.
That's the one. I figured it was, but I thought, you look a lot different.
That's a concert poster. That's a cool one.
No, just pulling your leg. 3 sign-off questions, if you don't mind. The one-liners, however you want to respond. I ask all my guests the same questions. So now, my business is helping developers raise money online, typically from accredited investors, real estate investors. So what's the first thing someone starting out raising money online? They've never done it before. They've never done social media to engage, to raise money online. What's the first thing they should keep in mind?
Online, I think the way to build credibility is to engage with other people. Follow you and look at the people engaging with your content and engage with those people. I think that's, there's no fast way to do it. I think, you have a system and a system works, but you've got to engage. You've got to put the work in.
Second question, Noel, this is a little different. So you've been busy online for a long time and you're very advanced in comparison to 99% of people. What's been the hardest lesson you've learned online?
That people really don't care. Well, back up. People are interested to know what you have to say, but they really don't care about you that much. I've kind of learned that, who cares about likes? Who cares about, I don't care about how many people watch my videos. That lesson, learning, understanding that it's not about how many likes you get. It's about having those few meaningful engagements with a few right people. That's all that matters. And learning that lesson it took some time.
Interesting. There's a small group of people who actually really care. Is that what you mean about what you're saying?
Yeah.
Just to share with you, I don't normally interject on these 3 questions. I had that same experience, learned the same thing. I had the advantage, however, of teaching a class of 100 students at university, real estate investment and finance. And it occurred to me, I'd never taught before in front of a class. It occurred to me when I was standing there that there was a group of students at the back who would, could care less. They were on their phone or the thing. But there was also a group of, a dozen at the front who were locked on and absolutely, utterly fascinated. And it occurred to me, these are the ones I'm teaching to. That's what I took. That's what I take online.
It's their circle of influence you want to be around, right? It's that. It's that. Again, it's all about having meaningful conversations, and then it goes into a growth mindset, and all kinds of things you could offshoot on that. But it all kind of builds off of having a growth mindset and believing that you can engage with people and help and be giving and have gratitude. All of those things show when you talk with somebody. That's how you have meaningful conversations. So,
Noel, last question.
Sure.
What are your key daily habits that keep you successful online?
So being consistent. I do spend, I spend an hour or so at night after the kids are in bed and the wife's asleep, rather than just watching mindless TV. I go and engage with some people, and I make it a purpose to engage on a daily basis with as many people as possible. And worry less about posting an interesting article than asking a question. So ask a question, engage with people, whether you're posting, whether you're commenting, and, keep it positive, obviously. But if you don't agree with somebody, it's okay. So it's that consistently engaging. And I know I've said engage probably about 100 times, but it's important.
No, what an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for spending your time with me today. It's a real pleasure.
Absolutely. You bet.
That was Noel Christopher, who is Senior Vice President at Renters Warehouse, discussing his experience of live internet broadcasting, specifically on LinkedIn. Check out the show notes page for today's episode, where you'll find some short videos that I'll also post to my social channels, of course, and that will get you some of the highlights of my conversation with Noel. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for the Whiteboard Workshop, where I walk you through exactly how to build a sophisticated digital marketing system you can build yourself so you can raise money online for your real estate projects. That's all at gowercrowd.com on the podcast page. Hey, thanks for listening, and thank you, Noel Christopher, who is Senior Vice President at Renters Warehouse, for telling us all about live broadcasting on LinkedIn. Fascinating. That's all for this episode. I'll see you next time, and for now, this is Dr. Adam Gower signing off.